Oscar López Rivera is a passionate and committed Puerto Rican nationalist. 32 years ago, he was convicted of conspiracy to overthrow the U.S. government in Puerto Rico. During this past April and May, a variety of people occupied a symbolic cell at Batey Urbano in Humboldt Park in solidarity with Oscar.
Today marks 32 years that my brother has been in prison, which means that almost half of his life, he is now 70 years old, so it's a little bit less than half of his life he's been in prison.
When Oscar was arrested in 1981, he and the group of people he's arrested with the year before, right, that they all say they're part of this armed group, the FALN, none of them are charged with a violent crime, a bombing, or any bloodshed. Why? Because there was no proof. Every year it goes before the United Nations. The independents went to say, we should be free, Oscar should be free. They always say to the US, you should take immediate steps to let Puerto Rico be free. Because internationally, it's a crime.
He was not allowed for almost 12 years, was not allowed to have any human contact. My mother, the last visit she paid my brother was in Marion, Illinois. She came back from that visit. It was one of the most painful moments, obviously, of our lives, because she came back and she was crying, and she already knew something was wrong with her. And I asked her what happened, and she says, I was not able to touch Oscar.
For him to have served 32 years and not be convicted of a violent or a crime or any crime that shed any bloodshed, to me is ridiculous. That's part of, I think, the clamor. That's what cuts across civil society in Puerto Rico and certainly in the diaspora here.
And they started this idea to create a symbolic cell, but a symbolic cell that was really in the community, that the people in the community could participate. So it's an interactive, almost installation here.
The legacy of Oscar's activism is evident in the young people who have become leaders in the campaign.
So I started organizing in Batey Urbano, which is a youth space that focuses on artistic alternatives for youth. And there you would see a lot of Oscar's face, and they would talk a lot about Oscar's campaign. And I just realized it was a central part of the Humboldt Park community. We, since we're based in Chicago, as people who now lived in Chicago, but a lot of the university students came from all over the country. So people from Minnesota, from California, from Florida, from New York, who came here for school or for work or whatever. So it wasn't all people who were native to Chicago or even natives to Puerto Rico, or even people who were Puerto Rican at all. We had Mexicans, we had Hondurans, Nicaraguans, Colombians. We had a whole spectrum of Latinos who felt like this was important to call for this man's freedom. Even if they had no idea who he was, had no experience being in Humboldt Park, no connection to this community, after they spent 24 hours, they felt like this was a place that was important and a place that they want to dedicate time into keeping alive.
The fact that in this cell we had 32 people during 32 days, and most of them were young people who were born after Oscar went to prison, really speaks to that sense of continuity, but also to the idea of creating a historical memory that is present in this community, both of the work that we have done, the work that Oscar left, and the presence and persistence of Puerto Ricans here. When you can see that 32 years later, the entire Puerto Rican people in all of its variety of expression comes together. And this includes, obviously, labor leaders, it includes people in the arts, it includes LGBT activists. I mean, when you look at the entire spectrum of the Puerto Rican political life as well as the social life, it means a great deal for us as a family, but also it means a great deal for us as a community. And if there's one thing that has united the entire Puerto Rican people, it is that. I think that when we think about the implications of this massive movement in Puerto Rico for his release, I think that Obama has to clearly listen, and we hope he will listen and heed the call of the Puerto Rican people.